So what we're going to do right now, we're going to have a little bit of a, what do you call, a political segment.
Let's get it on!
Okay. And for today's political segment, I'm going to bring up Richard Wright. He is running for lieutenant governor of Georgia, and he's a Democrat. I met him at an event, and I really wanted him, you know, on the show so we can see his perspective, because I want you guys to know I want to hear from everybody. Left, right, center. I really want to hear from everyone. So we're going to go ahead and add him to the stage. Hopefully he's ready for me. We'll see.
I'm here.
Okay. So he's going to be joining us via audio. You don't want to show your face? No? There we go. There's Mr. Richard Wright. So, yes, please introduce yourself and just let us know the position. I said you are running for lieutenant governor of Georgia. So, if you could share your platform with us, that would be great.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Wright, and I'm running for lieutenant governor of Georgia. I always start off with a little education, because I think as someone who wants to hold a position, I think it's upon me to educate everyone what the position does. And so the lieutenant governor of Georgia is the president of the Senate. So he or she picks the committee chairs and controls what comes on the Senate floor for a vote. So it's kind of parallel to the vice president of the United States, except for the VP of the United States doesn't have a day-to-day responsibility for the Senate. The lieutenant governor does. So they're in the session every day, working with senators, working with the Speaker of the House, working with the governor to get bills passed. And so a very important position. A little bit about me. I'm a CPA by day. I am candidate by day and night. I moved to Georgia back in '97 with my GED. And I tell people all the time I moved here to be a rapper. And so no one's hiring me. So I listened to my mother. I enrolled in a small school called Herzing College. Went on and got my undergrad degree. Then I went and got my grad degree. Then I went and became a CPA and went to Georgetown Law School, took some classes at Georgetown. And so I want to use that work ethic and also just things that I've gained over the years while working in corporate America to kind of work for the citizens of Georgia. And then my platform is one. I'm a rational Democrat. I'm a statesman. I'm a moderate guy. I believe that my job is to help every one of you, not to just help myself. And I think that's what's missing in politics, is that on both sides, people focus on themselves and not focus on the people at hand. So a lot of my platform is kitchen table. Is how can I, grow the business ecosystem in your city or town? How can we make education a lot more effective throughout the state of Georgia? What's the right balance with healthcare in Georgia, as far as what the state does, federal, and also what individuals do? There's some tax credits I believe that will help homeowners in the state of Georgia. There's also some credits that will help developers, which would inevitably make housing more affordable under a strategy. So those are just some of the things that I'm planning on working on as your next lieutenant governor.
Okay, wow. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you for prefacing that you are a rational Democrat, because I know that there are rational Democrats within the Democrat Party. We just don't necessarily hear from them. I think their voice gets overshadowed by certain ideologies that are within the party. And that's not to excuse Republicans either. Right. Not trying to degrade either party, because I'm like, in my opinion, both parties, I'm like, y'all need to do better, period. But I think the largest issue, and this is what a lot of people see with the Democratic Party, is the whole transgender issue, right? men and women's sports. And
Yeah.
in California, I think they just passed. I'm not sure if it's an overarching state bill or if it's more of a city type ordinance where they're allowing a boy to participate that identifies as a female, but they're also giving the female that came in second to that boy first place status, right? Alongside this person, because had that person not been there, they would have gotten first place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
So
know. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So they're putting everybody on the platform. I was like, when did we start giving eighth place ribbons? I ran in CIF personally. Okay.
Yeah.
There was only three spots on the podium. There's first, second, third. Like Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, we're giving out eighth place ribbons. You know, boys are participating in women's sports. Women are just, they're exhausted. Even here in Georgia, I think there was a law that they wanted to pass where tax okay, so the law was tax dollars shouldn't go to transgender surgeries for people in prison, right? And so that was
Uh-huh.
the law. It's like, we're not going to give any more money to this. The Democrats didn't vote on it. They walked out. And I was like, what is going on with this party? It's like they people across the world, the planet outside of the United States have said, please stop doing this. So, I mean, if you were to, get the position as lieutenant governor, could this be something that's at least addressed in the state and get some rational policies move forward?
Yeah, I think that uh, transgenders represent maybe 1% of America, right? We're given one, right? But the issue takes up a lot of airspace, all right?
Mhm.
I'm a rational guy. I was at a Democratic event yesterday, and I'll give you my take on it, and then kind of move on. There are two sexes. There's man and there's woman, all right? Men should use men bathrooms. Women should use women bathrooms. Men should play in men's sports. Women should play in women's sports. That's kind of my take on it. There, people have human rights, but there's certain privileges that it's a privilege, right? So that's what it is. It's I have a right to use the bathroom.
Mhm.
I don't have the privilege to use the female bathroom. The
Right.
rights and then their privileges. I have the
Mhm.
right to try out for a team. I also have the privilege to play. Richard Wright doesn't have the privilege to play in female sports. So that's my take on it. There's human rights, and then there's that everybody should have. The constitutional rights that we all have in the country, and then there's privileges. And so that's my take on it.
Okay, and thank you for outlining it that way because I've never really seen it outlined that way, but that makes more sense, right?
Yeah,
It somebody's giving you a privilege that and some people's argument would be they shouldn't be, right? They shouldn't be given that privilege because it might put other people in danger. But the other question I did want to ask you is about illegal immigration. Recently our I wouldn't say they're our neighbor from the north, but they're a couple states up in South Carolina. A woman unfortunately lost her life. And the illegal immigrants involved, one in particular, he had actually been deported in 2023. He returned to our country driving. And, even state law in South Carolina says that somebody who is undocumented cannot have a driver's license unless they're a DACA recipient. So I don't know if they were a DACA recipient or not, but again, they're involved in illegal activity. They were already, deported from our country. So, we have the Lincoln Riley Act because there was somebody who came here from New York. They should have been deported, but they came here, took her life. So we have certain protections, I should say, in place. And I wanted to know, if you were elected lieutenant governor, what would you do to really sort out the illegal immigration from the legal immigration? Because I think that's what people really want. They want people here legally, not illegally.
yeah. And, again, it's rights and privileges. You when it's 14th Amendment conversation that's going on out here in
Hmm.
society, and the first bar, and then the second bar, the 14th Amendment, and jurisdiction, therefore of,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what some people on the left like to play on. And my thought process is, President Obama was doing it right, right? Somehow, some way, under the last two presidents, it went awry, right? Uh, we know that President Obama deported 3 million people,
Yeah,
right?
it's like 15
So,
million people.
that's it. So,
15 million, y'all.
no,
That's a
no,
real
no.
number.
I'm saying he deported 3 million,
Okay.
right? And so he deported those people from a list, all right, a list
Yes.
of people who are in here doing things negatively, right? And so I start off with saying that you don't have a right to come here and commit crimes. That's where the privileges comes in, right? You have
Hmm.
constitutional rights when you cross the border, right? But then there are privileges, and you don't have privileges to stay in this country uh, illegally. You definitely don't have privileges to commit crimes while you're here. And so you can start there. And if President Trump would start there, I think the conversation would tap down. But when you go over the Constitution, say it doesn't matter, and the 14th Amendment was a Reconstruction bill, right? We're not going to sit
Right.
here and be intellectually dishonest and say that was for immigrants. No, the bill
Right.
was for mostly for slaves, but it was for the Chinese as well, Native Americans as well, right? It said, hey, it overturned Dred Scott. It was Dred Scott said only white Americans were Americans, right?
Hmm.
So we, as African Americans, were the Mexican Americans, currently Mexican Americans, because after the 13th Amendment, we were free, right? But you
Right.
were trespassing because you weren't a citizen. And
Right.
so, the Republican Congress, I give credit where credit's due. The Republican Congress said, hey, before the Democrats get back into the House or the Senate, let's go ahead and correct Dred Scott. And that's what they did. That's the 14th Amendment. And so,
Right.
it's not for illegal immigration. It was a Reconstruction bill. And
Right.
so,
Right.
again, I think we need to kind of pivot back towards what President Obama did in terms of identifying individuals that are here illegally, documented, however you want to say it, and that are committing crimes. We need to deport them, but then there needs to be more policies around people who are here doing things constructive. And
Right.
that's what we're kind of failing at is we have it's a lot of radicals on both sides. We want to let everybody stay, we want to put everybody out, right? It just is there's not enough kind of rational thought process to it, because rational just means two things exist at one time and both be true, right? That's all the rational idea is. And so
Right.
that's what we get back to, more of rational ideas in terms of, yes, if you're here committing a crime, and you're here illegally or undocumented, then you need to be deported. And then we need to construct something around, uh, people who are here being constructive. And my last point to that is, we need to really think about domestic resources. That's the quagmire in the room, right? How do we get
Hmm.
domestic resources?
Oops. We lost you for just a second. Hopefully his computer will be back. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Yeah. We need to really look at how we're using American resources, right? That's black men, black and brown men, and white men. How we're using
Mhm.
them, and that's not really being had in the conversation. Is that how we use our domestic resources? Strategic immigration is what I call it. And part of strategic immigration is constructing policies around people who are coming here, whether it's asylum, or coming here to pick fruit, and then what are we going to do with domestic resources, male resources here, and get them to do some of the jobs as well.
Okay. Yeah, my opinion is I think we actually need a moratorium on the border. I would like our border to be closed in or out and really process the people here, right? And to your point, really make sure that the resources, right, are well defined so that people aren't harmed while they're here, because there's a lot of harm that goes on with illegal immigration that people don't talk about. Living here in Georgia, we're one of the top sex trafficking states
Yeah,
in the union, you
yeah,
know And people don't talk about that part. They always, try to have this outcry of, oh, you're sending these innocent people home. I was like, well, what about these innocent people being sex trafficked, these women, men, and children that this is happening to? And it's happening in our state. And it's a big, huge issue that we're not dealing with. But there are still people going, no, we need people to be here. And I'm like, no, we need to just shut the border down. And like I said, that's my opinion. I would just like it shut down for at least 10 years. And this allows people that have applied to get their citizenship. It allows us time to remove people that shouldn't be here in our country. And it also allows us to square up the HB1 visas that nobody talks about, with that chain migration. So there's a lot of things that go on that are just outside of the physical border. Because my opinion is this: you can have a border, you can have a wonderful wall, but if your policies are trash and they don't help anybody, what good is the wall? Right?
Yeah,
The wall's a
it'll, it'll-
deterrent, but if you don't have the policies behind it, what good is the wall?
yeah, yeah. We're have some of the same thought process. I mean, as a nation, you have to have sovereignty,
Yeah.
right? You just got to control who's coming in and out of your country. I mean, you're not a country unless you do that, right? That's just a that's just reality of being a nation, that you must
Right.
control who comes in and out, right? Whether it's on plane, on foot, on boat. I need we need to have a policy. We had to have policies that control the border. So a wall, whether we freeze it. I think that we're a sophisticated enough country that we can do two things at the same time.
Yeah.
The issue is that more Americans are going to have to start electing people who think rationally. That's the honesty of it.
I'm so sorry. My phone. I
No
usually
worries.
have it. And
That's just the reality of it. So it's up to the listeners because if you keep electing individuals who focus is on calling out the other side, right, and not having their side, and they're not really addressing the issues in their house, then you just get people in the state house who are radical, and then you get people who go on to the federal level who are radical, and then you get
right.
what you have now. You get
Yeah.
bills passing 215 to 214, and
Hmm.
you're gonna get bills that are gonna pass on party lines in the Senate. So uh, yeah, it's up to the American people. But there has to be a personal step forward to say, hey, I agree with some of what the other side had to say. Let me clean up my side first, because there's issues with MAGA. They really
Yeah.
are. And Trump is think he. Well, I know you're probably gonna ask me a question about him, so I'll just say my
No,
announcement.
I actually wasn't. So go ahead, because what I was going to give you is last words, and then definitely where we could follow you, right?
Okay.
And for those listeners that we have out there, if they wanted to, donate to your campaign, where they could donate to you.
Yep. Yep. I'll say this at the federal level, that President Trump is moving too fast. All right, moving too fast because of the fact that we haven't thought about it kind of holistically. This, as a nation, is for a president to have a legacy. You need 8 years. You can't get it in 4 years, because the next president can undo the majority of what you did with his 4 years, and that's what Biden did,
Right.
right? So you need a full 8 years back to back to have a legacy. A case in point, Obamacare. First pass was unpopular. You can't take it from people now, because he had 8 years. And he had 8 years, 6 of those 8 years with a Republican Congress,
Hmm.
House, and the last two with both with the Republicans having both the House and the Senate. So you need 8 years, and President Trump doesn't have 8 years back to back. So he has
Right.
to ram these ideas down very fast, but without thinking through them logically and rationally, so that now you have this uproar. And as a Democrat, I think there's a better way that this could be done at the federal level, but also on the state level. Because I'm running for state office. We have resources in the state, and the question is going to become, when the federal government stops giving, what's the state going to do? And so we need to have a rational plan about how we're going to make up for some of the funds that aren't coming from the federal government. Are citizens in Georgia going to suffer? Do they have to suffer? What policies are we going to do? Right. And so that's up to our current governor, Governor
Mhm.
Kemp, and the current Lieutenant Governor Burke Jones and Speaker Burns. But I think that it's going to be upon the states to kind of make up for the shortfall, and how they do it, and how you manage is going to be very important.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, there is some with the federal government, but we shouldn't be reliant upon the federal government, nor should the federal government have, such overarching pressure that um, we lose our sovereignty as a state. If that makes any sense. You know,
But
there were
yeah,
things that went on in the previous administration that I did not agree with, right? And they were impressed upon from the federal level to the state as if you should be following these things, and it's like, well, some of these things that you guys are asking us to do is unconstitutional, right? And so to your point, it's like you have to have breadth and room for that conversation, but I really do think that people need to work with neck break speed, because for so long at the state and the federal, yeah, people have just gotten too comfortable for me. Like, you
yeah,
need to do your job. I'm sorry. If this is your job, you have a whole staff to help you do your job. It's not just you. Get your job done. I'm somebody, I'm a paralegal. I'm here doing my news broadcast. I'm also, helping and assisting with the network. I do multiple things and I get them done efficiently. So if I can do those things, and if your one job is to be an authority, then people voted you to do your job. Do your job. I don't want to hear your complaints. Get your job done. But that's
yeah.
just me. I'm a little
Well,
bit hard nosed.
yeah, I would say that it'd just be wonderful if this one senator, or one House member, one president could just do their job and get the total job done, right. But you got to work with people. And people
Yeah,
are difficult
and
sometimes.
yeah,
They're
but
difficult.
sometimes they listen to their donors too much and not the people. Let's be real. Let's be
I think
honest.
no, I think both sides have,
Yeah.
because since United, there you need money to run. Trust me, you need money to run, and so when you need money to run, the ideas get kind of one sided on both sides, and so
Uh-huh.
just
Yeah.
the radicalness of both parties. You just gotta say, hey, listen, let's tamp down kind of some of the rhetoric. All right. When I go to Republican
Mhm.
meetings, all Democrats are evil, and when I go to Democrat meetings, all
Right.
Republicans are evil.
Evil,
That's
right?
not the case. All
Be
right. There's some
rational.
good, yeah, right. There's some good Republicans. There's some good Democrats on both sides, and so
Yeah.
it just they have to speak up with a louder voice and say, hey, we're going to work together on said idea. As far as the federal versus state federalism, yeah, the state asks for 5% of your income. The federal government can ask up to 37%. So that's a different number. So when you ask
Yeah.
for more, you got to do more, right? That's the federal argument to it, right? Is that you ask for more
Yeah.
money from a greater source of individuals. So you should get the doling out the money to a greater source of individuals. And so I'm kind of a rational guy. Like I say, I think that's that paradigm has been overdone somewhat on the federal level, and so we're going to see, how state leaders react to this. I think that a lot of Republican states are poorer than a lot of liberal states. So that's where the rubber's going to meet the
Mm.
road. Georgia is
Right.
Florida too. That hey, they have the resource, but Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas,
Mm.
Louisiana. There's some
Yeah.
states that are
Yeah.
gonna that really rely on federal funding, and so you have
Hmm.
Republican governors in that state that are looking at their budgets and it's like, oh my,
Yeah.
with a Republican president, Republican Congress, and so we'll foresee how that shakes. South Carolina too is not a wealthy state, so
Right.
Tennessee, we could just name them. Pretty
Mm.
much the South, outside of Texas, Georgia, and
Yeah.
Florida. The rest of the South, the Confederacy old Confederacy is
Hmm.
struggling a bit, and New York and California print money. Seems like they
Right.
almost print money, right? Whether that's good or bad, right? Because California
Yeah.
is a budget deficit, but uh, yeah, that's we're gonna, as a states across the 50 states, gonna have to, you know, as state leaders, gonna have to really look at the budgets a little closer now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today in a political segment. And again, can you just tell people where to follow you and where they can donate to your campaign?
Yes, you can follow me at www Wright, WRIGHT 4 FOR Georgia. Wright for Georgia. It's all spelled out. The 2026.com. So it's right. So it's www.wrightforgeorgia2026.com. You can see my platform and all my wonderful, great ideas about how to make your life better up there. You can volunteer, leave your information to volunteer, and starting soon, you'll be able to vote. So I have to fill out the prerequisite paperwork with the state,
Right.
but you will be able to donate pretty soon. So I want to thank you very much for having me on your show. Really appreciate it. Love talking to people. Like answering hard questions, and like to talk to my Republican friends, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be your lieutenant governor as well. And so I tell people, hey, I'm always willing to listen. We may not agree on everything, but I'm always willing to listen to whoever you are.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm not a Republican. I know we met at a Republican meeting. I'm actually the founder of the Redemption Party, which is an independent party. So
Okay.
I sit right in the middle and working, I'm really looking forward to working with both Republicans and Democrats. That's really, why I reached out to you and I wanted to have you on here, because when you said you're a rational Democrat, it makes a lot of sense. And I need people to understand that there are rational Democrats out there.
Yeah, we just don't. It's the same way with the Republican side. Just don't speak up as much. When you get in rooms, by yourselves with other rational people, you kind of talk rational stuff like, "I wish this would happen. I wish this would happen." But
Right.
you say it out loud because somebody would shame you. The Republican side, they call you a rhino. Lord knows what the Democrats will call you. And so, people kind of just don't want to speak up. But
Yeah,
I don't
I agree.
mind being called names. It's part of life, and so just want to make Georgians' lives better. That's the goal.
Good, good. And thank you. And like I said, I appreciate you running. It's very difficult. It is not easy, but hopefully, we can have you on again during your run so we can follow up and just see about your progress. And thank you so much again for joining us here this morning.
I appreciate it. Thank you.